Hello everybody, TapScreen Gaming here, and today we've got a tier list for X-Samkok. So seeing as there are barely any tier lists online, what I've done is average out the rankings for all the tier lists I could find, and then I made some tweaks based on the unit skills. So the SS tier is mostly the units that you'll be using for the game. S tier, you can use them if you don't have any of the SS tier. A tier is okay for starting the game. B tiers you're really going to want to stay away from, but use them if you have to. And F tier is all for food. So here we go. First up, Zhang. It's going to be SS. He's got some high damage and he has the ability to do extra attacks. Next up, Simi, another SS. He's got some decently high damage and he can put a lot of poison stacks on the enemy team. Next up's Chao. It's going to be an S rank. He's got some okay damage and he can steal rage from the enemy team and give it to your team. Next, Xiahou is going to be B. He's got all okay damage, I guess, and he applies a shield buff to himself. Next is Guan, going to be another B. He's got pretty low damage and has random debuffs that he gives out that aren't that great. Dian, another B tier. He's got some low damage and I think he's got a low rage buff for himself. Next up's Chao. He's got okay damage, gives himself a low shield, but nothing special at all. Stay away from him. Next up's Lady Zhen. I'm not sure to put her in S or SS tier. I think I'll put her in SS tier. She's got some decent heals and rage restoration as well. Next we got Zhu, there's another food. Wenji, I think, another food. Guan, SS tier for sure, probably one of the better ones. He's got some really high single target damage. He self heals and his self buff is really good. Zhao, he's got pretty high damage, does extra attacks on kills, and I think he's got a self buff. I think I'll put him in SS tier. Next up, Zhuge Liang. He's a healer and buffer that buffs your allies, and he will be SS tier. Next is Liu. He's going to be S. He does decent damage and can apply a bunch of bleed stacks. Jiang does decent damage, he's going to be an S tier, and can do team buffs for healing, rage, and shields. Zhang is going to be an SS, got good damage, self-heal, and can shield buff allies. Quan is going to be an S tier. She does team debuff res and team debuff removal. Zhong is going to be food as well as Yinping here. Sun Si can burn, self-buff, and attack multiple times, but he's going to be an S rank. Zhou does lots of burn damage, and that's pretty much it, so he's going to be an S rank as well. Taishi C is going to be an S rank. He's got some high damage, and he can self-shield when he's being attacked. Chou is going to be B tier. He's got some pretty good damage, but he stuns himself for, I think, one turn after he attacks, so he's pretty hard to use, so you can use him at the beginning if you need to. Quan is going to be our first A tier. He's got decent damage and decent self buffs, but nothing enough to bring him up to an S tier. Got Xiao. Another one I'm not quite sure of. I think she probably belongs in S rank. She has decent damage, steals rage, and shields allies. You know what? Maybe she belongs in SS rank after all. Liu Zhen's going to be our S rank. He does burn, silence, and hit rate debuff. Meng's going to be a food. Qiao is going to be another A tier. She's got some decent heals, but she only buffs Wu characters, so she's nothing too special. Lu Su's going to be another food. Dao Chen's going to be an SS. She does decent damage, and her Bewitch ability is pretty overpowered, and she also buffs other warlord units. Yuji's going to B tier. He's got low damage and a low chance to poison. Yuan Shao's going to A. He has okay damage, and he can debuff enemy team, but only a column of them. Huang is going to be another B tier, pretty low damage. He does do burns, but he also self-damages himself on one of his passives, so stay away from him. Lu Bu, another SS, does pretty good damage, and his passive allows him to counter-attack when he's hit, so that can be pretty overpowered if he's getting hit quite a bit. Zhou is going to be an A tier. It's got alright damage, and he shields himself and does a damage share, which I'm not sure how useful that's going to be. I don't have him, so I can't really test it out. But from what other tier lists I've seen, he's usually around A rank, so that's where I'll put him. Liang's going to be a food tier. Huo is going to be SS. She's really good healer, and she's also got a overtime healing ability, and her passive gives her extra heals and buffs, so she's a pretty good healer. Gongsun Zhen's going into B. He's got low damage and has some pretty low buffs for himself. Zhuo C is going to SS rank, does decent damage and can dispel buffs and has rage gain. Wenji is food tier. And here's where we get to the good ones. Zhang Liao's probably the best damage dealer in the game right now. He's got really high damage and he does extra attacks as well. Any team I've seen him in, he's out damaging everybody else by at least twice, so go for this guy if you can. And the new character, Demon Guan Yu, sorry. Another god tier. Really high single target damage and a really good self buff just like Guan Yu, except his Hellfire passive gives really good buffs for your whole team. He actually grants Hellfire to all allies upon entering the battlefield, increases their crit rate and crit damage by 40% when any allied officer HP drops below 60 for the first time. They gain 1 stack of Hellfire. So that's going to be really good for the rest of your team. He's a brand new character on the server that I'm on, so it's the first day to try to get him, and I'm going to see if I can. But yeah, that's the completed tier list there. Let me know if you'd put anybody else in a different spot in the comments below. Have a good one. See ya.